cannot. My slides. Oh, I shared the wrong one.
Just click OK.
Here we go. Okay. So before we get started today, we wanted to do just a fun little activity. Okay, I am a teacher, and this is one of my favorite activities to do with my students. Okay, and I have titled it "Overrated, Underrated, Properly Rated." Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys 3 different things. Okay, and you got to tell, or well, it's kind of harder on Zoom, I'm realizing, but you got to figure out if this thing is overrated, underrated, properly rated. Okay, so here we go. Fortnite, overrated, underrated, properly rated. Who's saying? Raise your hand if you're saying overrated. Yeah, I'm with you. Who's saying properly rated? Okay, and who's saying underrated? Who thinks? Okay, everyone's on the same page with this one. Okay. Right on. Here we go. Next one, Taylor Swift. This one was for Libby. So who's saying underrated?
Hannah, the screen that you're sharing is your email.
Oh,
Whoops.
hold on. Thank you, Brittany. Wow.
Here. That's funny.
That is funny. No wonder.
They're like,
You're
what?
like, look,
A
that's
little
all my.
confused. We're like, I love Berg too.
Wait, is that your screen?
Yeah, here, hold on. Here we go. Okay.
So, oh, no.
First one was Fortnite.
There, we can see it all now.
Wait, can you see Fortnite? Okay. Second, Taylor Swift. Who's saying underrated? Thank you, Libby. Me too. Who's saying overrated? Put your hands down. And properly rated? Okay.
So this is one that me and Hannah were always, we always argue over this. This is probably our most heated debates come over if Taylor Swift is overrated or if she is underrated. And I think she's overrated.
I think she deserves all the hype she gets.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. This is also a good debate among us. Taco Bell. We can hear Libby and Ross in the other room. They're cheering. Okay, who's saying properly rated? Okay, all right.
Respect.
Underrated. And
yeah, go Mason.
Where are we at? Overrated. Adam, Jaden, Brittany. Thank you.
I had a feeling that Brittany was not gonna be on the same side as me on that one, but I stand by Taco Bell.
Cool. Well, that's just a fun little kind of get to know you game we wanted to start off with. So
okay. So I should be. This is Doug Coons. Which do you think this is?
It's going to be both of the girls. So it'll be Scarlett and Bella.
Cool.
I just don't know which one's going to pop up.
I guess we'll find out.
No.
Oh, there's 2 of them. Okay.
There we go. Hi, Scarlett. Hi, Isabella.
What's up? Glad you guys made it. Awesome. Well, you guys came at the perfect time because we wanted to jump into the book. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. And so these first 2 chapters, they're kind of like introductory to the actual like meat of the book. And we've talked a lot just over the last couple months about habits and things like that. And so the first chapter, I don't think a lot of that's new for you guys. But we wanted to focus a lot on the paradigms and principles aspect of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, because paradigms, principles, understanding how we see the world is really important in understanding how we can change those paradigms to benefit us. And so what is a paradigm? In the book, it says the way you see something or point of view, frame of reference, or belief.
And he gives a bunch of examples in there. So we're kind of gonna follow the book around a little bit, but the first one example that he said is there is a belief in the 2nd century that said the earth is the center of the universe. And so that was something that people believed at the time. That was their paradigm, their point of view, that they thought the earth was the center of the universe. We now know that's false, right? Another paradigm that they believe was, I'm trying to get it word for word here. But essentially that second picture, that smoking and tobacco was good for you. And that was like in the 1960s. They believed that that was their paradigm or their belief that smoking was good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting how like if you guys were, watching TV and you saw an ad that said smoke a fresh cigarette, like that just makes no sense nowadays because we know now that that is like cigarettes are not good for you. It is the opposite of fresh. But, in that time and in that age, that was a perfectly reasonable thing to believe. And then the last paradigm that we wanted to give an example of had to do with TV.
How many of you guys have watched TV today? Some form of electronic device. Some form of electronic device. We'll stick with that.
Yeah.
All right, your phone, whatever. All right.
And so this was in 1946. This guy that was the head of Fox, he said television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months. People will soon get tired of staring at a plywood box every night. And coincidentally, he was dead wrong. And that's kind of why we have this boardroom to give you a chance to I mean, I know we're communicating through a laptop, but to give you a chance to get away from that plywood box that everyone still stares at, still loves watching. And so I think it's really important to note that with paradigms that they're not based in fact, they're based in opinion. And as true as it may seem at the time, it doesn't mean that these viewpoints are real and accurate.
So how can we apply like these paradigms, or how do we see these paradigms in our life, right? So we kind of want to have a little group discussion here, discussing this question. What are some false paradigms you see in the world today? Either you see in your own life, in your friends' lives, social media. An example that we thought of is there's a paradigm or a belief that people think because their parents didn't go to college, they won't go to college. So that's a false paradigm kind of in the world today.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some paradigms that you guys have seen personally or just seen other people kind of experience and live their life with?
So I play a game called League of Legends, and I watch a lot of people play it, and they have this paradigm that a lot of the games they lose is not because of themselves, but because of others.
Mm.
But I have this mindset that is, I can always do something to help win the game, or I can always win it.
That's awesome. So kind of lack of accountability almost. They think nothing's their fault, nothing is because of them. It's all because of other people, which kind of takes the power out of their hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we kind of answered it, but which viewpoint do you think is more beneficial? Your viewpoint, your paradigm, or the other people's paradigm?
Probably the paradigm I'm using.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Similar to that, how many of you guys see people who just think that the world is out to get them? Do you guys run into people in school or run into people just out and about that are always just kind of down in the dumps that the world's out to get them? Let's get a raise of hands if you've seen that. And for you guys, um, imagine that you have that viewpoint, you have that paradigm. What do you think your life is going to look like with that paradigm?
I feel like I'd just be really unhappy and like, I don't know. It just wouldn't be a good life.
Yeah.
It's a good point, Olivia. It would kind of be like a glass half empty type of life, of like you're always looking at the negative. You're always seeing kind of the bad and the negative in the world, and that everyone's doing that to you. Jane, you were giving a thumbs down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for you, Jaden, imagine if you just felt like your teachers were out to get you and that no matter how hard you tried, you could never get a good grade. Do you think you would have been able to do as good in school this year if you felt like everything was out of your hands? It would have been a lot harder. So what was kind of what kind of paradigm helped you? Because we talked a little bit. I'm friends with Jaden's dad on Facebook, and I just had seen that he did really well in school this year. Like a 4.8 GPA, got some awards, and like that's awesome. And I feel like it would be really hard to succeed and do get that type of result with feeling like the world's out to get you. So Jaden, for you, what kind of paradigm, what kind of viewpoint do you feel like you have that helped you to do well in school?
Um, I don't know, just like probably like thinking that if you get a good grade, like getting a good grade right now will probably help you later in life. Like if you're getting good grades right now, it'll set you up for success in future.
Yeah.
Cool.
And what helps you believe that you can get a good grade?
Um, probably I don't know, like working because like I think I can work hard and achieve it.
Boom. Knuckles through the screen. That's awesome. So that kind of leads into, we just heard about Jaden's paradigm, a paradigm that helped him to achieve in school. What are some ways that we can change paradigms to benefit ourselves?
And remember, just a reminder, paradigms are thoughts or beliefs that you have,
Yeah, or like
your viewpoint of
viewpoints.
yourself or the world.
I got a good example.
Let's hear that.
It's experiencing things. So this week was my first time I ever done an interview. So instead of thinking like, I don't know what it's going to be like and just not doing it, instead I did it and figured out what it actually looks like.
Dude,
Good for you.
that's awesome. And see, imagine if you had a paradigm of or a viewpoint of, oh, like I could never get a job. I could never get a job. Like if that's not based in fact, but if you keep telling yourself that, if you believe, if that's your viewpoint is that you're not going to be able to get a job, you're probably not going to be able to get a job, right? You probably wouldn't even apply for the job, but the fact that you applied and went through an interview, like that says a lot about a really beneficial paradigm that you have. And so for you, what kind of a viewpoint do you feel like you have? What kind of paradigm do you have that gives you the confidence to apply for jobs and try new things like you're an interview?
So I think I did get help from parents, sending in the application. And I think, and I know I didn't get the job because they sent a text message back about that. But I realized like afterwards, it's really not this big thing of you did something entirely wrong if you don't get it. But it's more about what you can experience and what it looks like to actually go get a job and what standards you'll probably have to increase for yourself for the next time you do one.
That's awesome.
That is good. I mean, your focus is on the process, right? Not the outcome. Your focus is on the process. Did anyone have any other thoughts with this question?
Wait, what was the question again?
It's right there on the screen. Yeah. What are some ways we can change paradigms to benefit ourselves? Like change our viewpoints about the world.
And that's okay too. It takes some thought.
Yeah, for me, I feel like the biggest shift and the biggest thing that I realized in my life, a paradigm shift for me, was that everything is in my control. Every decision, like no one, if I put all the control in someone else, or if I put all the control in other people's hands, then that really limits what I can do. And it wasn't until way later, like a few years ago, I feel like, that I was able to make a shift in my viewpoint of the world, that like all of the results of my life were just based on my decisions. They weren't based on anyone else's decisions. And that actually was very freeing for me. It made life a lot easier for me, because I realized that everything that I want, that I can go out and get it, because it's based on my decisions, not someone else's decisions. And I wish that I had learned that a lot earlier. Like sometimes maybe, yeah, like you don't get a job, or maybe you get cut from a sports team or something like that. It's very easy to point fingers, right? It's very easy to blame it on other people. But as soon as we can realize that it's all up to us, then we can make the changes to be better. And it sounds like, just based on your interview, Adam, that you're learning, and you're making personal steps to where the next interview is going to go even better. And eventually, even though the result wasn't what you wanted the first time, you're going to get that result eventually, because it's all up to your decisions, not someone else's decisions, and you're taking accountability. So that's awesome.
So that leads us into what our good old Sean Covey talks about. So he goes through, and we didn't want to dive into them because it's basically what you shouldn't do, but it's paradigms of self, it's paradigms of friendships, of parents, etc. Paradigms of stuff. So these different beliefs or viewpoints that we have of all these things in life, and he says how not beneficial they are. And then at the very end of the chapter, he talks about how we need to have be principle centered. And he gives a few examples of principles that we need to essentially base our life around. All right. And those are like integrity, hard work, loyalty, service, love, honesty. And there's a lot more, right? And these principles help us focus on the process, right? And they help us ultimately to become the people that we want to become. All right. When our lives are focused on principles, it's those habits and these habits that we can then incorporate into our lives. And Bert, when we were talking about this, gave a great example of gravity, right? And I think it was mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
Or something. You want to share that?
Yeah. The idea of principles is that it's based a lot more on fact. You can't really argue with it. With paradigms, at least, there is, if someone says the world's out to get me, you can say no all you want. You can disagree with them all you want, but it's very real and very true to them. And it's a lot harder to argue those things. But with principle centered, basing our lives on principles, it's not based on opinion or viewpoints. It's based on facts. And so the example they gave was gravity. That's a principle, right? Because if you throw a ball in the air and it's going to come back down. Like imagine Jaden, if you're at school and some kid comes up to you and he's like, I threw a ball in the air and it just never came back. Like, what are you going to tell him? Are you going to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense? You're probably going to be like, no, that's not how it works. And that's that's the idea of principles. So even to put it into practice, for example, when we were asking Jaden about his viewpoints on getting good grades, he mentioned hard work. That's one of those principles, right? There's it's one of those tried and true ways that in the long run that you're going to get the results that you want. Maybe in the short term, someone next to you in class could be cheating and getting the same exact grades that you want. But is that always going to pan out for them? It might help them in the short term, but it's not going to ultimately get them through college, get them through life. Eventually that's not going to work. But hard work, that is always going to pan out in the long run. And that's a principle. Can you guys think of some other like principles that we can base our lives around that'll make our lives better in the long run? We've got integrity up here, loyalty, hard work, service, just as some good examples to give you guys an idea. Can you guys think of anything that a good way to live your life by that's going to pan out good for you?
Being flexible.
Oh, that's a good one, Adam.
Flexibility. Yeah. And so why do you think that helps you out in the long run?
I'd say that helps me a lot, especially with like emotional, meaning that and if I feel sad, instead you figure out why you're feeling sad and be honest what you actually want to feel. Or if a circumstance comes to you, you'll be able to make a decision much quicker.
That's awesome. So you're thinking from more of like an emotional standpoint, if I understand correctly. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Like
Not being too
emotional.
attached on one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I could see that, yeah, if you can detach yourself a little bit from results and things that you want, that it can help you stay level, it can help you stay emotionally level and calm. And I think that would definitely help you out in the long run. Good point.
So, I mean, there's a reason that this is chapter 2, right? Because the book is going to give us 7 habits, right, for highly effective teens, and these habits are based off of these principles. And at the very end of this chapter, Sean Covey talks about how we need to take baby steps. All right, it's not like we're going to change overnight. We need to take baby steps. And he gives the example of talks about a movie called What About Bob? And if any of you guys has anyone seen this movie? Raise your hand. Thank you, Ross. Okay, here's a little overview of the movie. We're gonna watch a clip about it, about his baby steps. But Bob is a very paranoid person. He is scared of everything and is paranoid of everything, has all these weird paradigms. Okay, he's got all these weird false beliefs of the world. Everything has germs, everyone's out to get him, etc. He goes and sees this psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist wrote him a book called Baby Steps. Okay, so let's watch this clip, and then we'll talk. I want you guys to be thinking about one baby step that you can make to shift your view to be more principle centered instead of paradigm centered.
Baby steps? It means setting small, reasonable goals for yourself, one day at a time. One tiny step at a time. Baby steps. For instance, when you leave this office, don't think about everything you have to do in order to get out of the building. Just think of what you must do to get out of this room. And when you get to the hall, deal with that hall, and so forth. You see? Baby steps. Baby steps. Oh boy. Baby steps. Baby steps. Baby steps through the office. Baby steps out the door. It works. It works. All I have to do is take one little step at a time, and I can do anything.
Let's go ahead and enlarge. All right, so that's the idea, right? Take one small step at a time and you can do anything. Okay, so just like Bob had to shift his paradigms, okay, by taking baby steps, we want you guys to make note right now in your notes of one baby step you can make to be more principle focused this upcoming month. All right. Now, while you're doing that, I'm going to read off a few examples that Sean Covey gives. He says, the next time you look in the mirror, say something positive to yourself. Pretty simple, right? But that is shifting to more principle-centered outlook on yourself and life. Another one, something soon or sometime soon, find a quiet place where you can be alone and think about what matters most to you. When you do your chores at home or work tonight, try out the principle of hard work. Go the extra mile and do more than is expected. The next time you're in a tough situation and don't know what to do, ask yourself, what principle should I apply? Honesty, love, loyalty, hard work, patience. Follow that principle and don't look back. So there's a few examples. Let's take about 30 seconds and go ahead and just write in your notes on your phone, make note on a sticky note, whatever, of one baby step that you want to make this month to help shift to a more principle-centered outlook. Sorry, I want to read one more while you're reading because this is a good one. Think of a limiting paradigm you might have of yourself, such as, I'll never be outgoing. Now do something today that totally contradicts that paradigm. That's a good one.
But I know that as we focus on baby steps and is just not trying to completely change, some of the negative viewpoints that we might have or limiting things that we believe about ourselves, but just taking it in small chunks, that by the time that you guys are our age or ours and Brittany's age, like you guys are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are. You guys are going to be just like exactly where you want to be. And yeah, that's why we're really grateful that you guys are here, because small little steps for a few years, that leads into huge things. And that's what it's all about. So go ahead.
I just going to say, so next week we'll be following up with that, or next month, right? We'll be following up with that. And then we just want to talk about too, our next chapter we're going to be reading is habit number 1, and that's being proactive. Okay. So this next month, you'll be reading, there we go.
Yeah. And Brittany, we're gonna turn the time over to you. Did you have a chunk that you were wanting to talk about?
Yeah, I do. Well, I'm gonna just
Um,
pull it up here. Okay, so I love this talk about paradigms and principles. And I'm going to be honest, when they said that that's what we were talking about, I was all, huh? What does that mean? Why are we speaking a different language? And so I read it and then I was like, oh, okay. So my interpretation is going to be just a little bit different. But sometimes when we are learning something, it's good to hear it in different ways so that we can better understand it. Because, you know, Burke and Hannah might say something and you might go, huh? And then I might say the exact same thing in a different way. And you might go, oh, I get it now. Right. And so I love that we have a couple of different perspectives here. I do want to go to my slides. So let's see. I mean, I think I'm really good at this, and then I do it and I'm a little, there we go. Okay. All right. Can you guys see this slide? Yes, you can. Okay, great. Okay, so we talked a bit about paradigms and principles. So in this story, and this, you know, in this idea, your principles are going to be your circumstances, and your paradigms are going to be your thoughts. And these are really important to distinguish because as Stephen Covey, or Sean, sorry, I grew up with Stephen, Sean's a new guy. As we go through Sean's book, he'll say, let's see, there was a couple of examples I was looking at. But anyways, I'll get back to that. But our circumstances lead to our thoughts. Our thoughts determine our feelings. Our feelings determine our actions. Our actions create our results. And then our results create our reality and our perception. So Stephen Covey says, this is the window through which we see ourselves. So our reality is our own idea and perception and view of the world. Now, can you imagine when you're at school or even in this room? I counted 9, maybe there's more than that, people. We are all having a different experience as we sit here. We all have our own thoughts. We all have our own perception. We all have our own ideas of the content that's being taught, things we want to share. And so we put all of us into a room and we're like, oh my gosh, this is like blowing my mind. So then you walk down the school, then you walk down the halls at school and everybody has their own perception. And if you could see, like, I think there's probably some cartoon that has like the little bubbles above everybody's head, but like you get 100 kids in a room and everybody's going to have a different bubble above their head that has a different thought. And how do we even function in that kind of an environment? Well, we all are, let's say we're all at school and we all have a different perception or a thought or a paradigm about being at school. And this would be our thoughts. So let's say I really love school. So when I go to school, I am going to learn. I'm going to be excited to be there. I'm going to talk to other people. I'm going to take notes. I love learning. So I'm going to really get into, like, I'm going to ask questions and do all of these things. Well, let's say my friend Cheryl, she does not like school. She is going to show up to school. She's going to be a little grumpy. Maybe she doesn't have any friends because nobody wants to hang out with Cheryl, who's always complaining about everything. She may not learn as much as me or somebody who loves school. And so we're both in school, but we have a completely different reality. We have a completely different perception about this. So you get to decide what you want in this life. You get to choose your thoughts. You get to choose So we get to choose our thoughts, but we don't always get to choose our feelings, right? We have this thought and then we automatically have this feeling, and that feeling is just kind of automatic. We don't necessarily have control over it, but we do have the control over our thoughts. But once we have that thought and that feeling, then it's going to determine our actions. It's going to determine what we do in that situation, in that moment, which is then going to create a result and ultimately our reality and our perception. So if you like your reality, awesome. If you don't, now's the time to change it. So as we've been challenged to have, to do like a paradigm shift, so a thought shift into a more principle thing. And I think that it's kind of impossible to do this at 100% accuracy, but it is really good to just kind of be aware of the things that we're doing. So we're automatically going to have that paradigm. We're automatically going to have those thoughts and those beliefs that just like pop up. We have friends, we have family, we have parents, we have teachers. All of them have a different opinion that's going to reflect and come out in us. But the principles are always the same. The circumstances are always the same. So you get to decide what you want and what reality you want to create. So I'm going to pop back here. So in life coaching, we do a little bit of work inside of a model. The model is very cool. And mostly this is just to create awareness. That's really what we're trying to do. Because again, we can't do this with 100% accuracy. Even the person who came up with the model she still has to like go through it and walk through it herself. So circumstances are things that happen in the world that we cannot control. They are just there. We live in a house. That's just a fact. Or we live in our car, also just a fact, right? But we're all on this computer tonight on this call. That is a fact. No one is going to refute that in any sort of law or whatever. We're all here. And then the thoughts are just like sentences that happen in your brain. Now, we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. Like that's mind blowing. Just as you're sitting here in 1 hour, you've probably had over 2,000 thoughts, which is, again, so mind blowing. And if I was better at math, I might say that it's 4,000 thoughts. But anyways, and then these feelings that we have, feelings are just one word descriptions of like the different vibrations in your body. So if you're standing up on stage, what is a feeling that you're going to have?
Scared.
Yeah, Libby's going to be scared. I'm going to get up there and I'm going to forget my first name. I'm going to be like, let me look at my notes. My name is Brittany, right? Does anybody else have something different that they'll feel when they get up on the stage?
Nervous.
Nervous. So when you're feeling nervous, what is the thought that you have?
Maybe like, I can't do this.
Yeah. The thought I'm having is, what if I mess up? Or I'm going to mess up. That's the thought that I have because anyway, I'm going to mess up. So I'm going to get up there and I'll be super nervous because all I'm thinking about is I'm going to mess up. And then I'm going to be nervous. And then I'm going to lose my place in my notes. And you're going to see my face turn red. And I'm probably going to mess up because that's the thought that is going on in my head because I'm so nervous. But if I say, no, I'm going to get up on stage like a boss. And even if I don't quite believe that, but if I get up there and I say, I'm going to kill this speech that I'm about to give. I'm going to get up there and I'm going to feel a lot different than if I have the thought, I'm going to mess up. You guys see the difference? So I show up like a boss. I'm going to feel confident. I'm going to get out my notes. I'm going to do all the things that I need to. I'm going to take my little finger and I'm going to follow along all the words. And I'm just going to keep thinking, I'm a boss. I'm a boss. I got this. I got this. I got this. And I'm going to make it through my whole speech. And I'm going to prove to the other people that I'm a boss because that's my thought. And actually, you're the only one that matters. Like you can't change what other people think. Like you may get up there and deliver the best speech of your life. And there's going to be somebody out there who's like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. Right? But you are only in control of yourself. You don't get to choose what somebody else is thinking, right? So then those actions become, or after you have those thoughts and those feelings and those actions, you're going to have a different behavior. So these are the things that we do or we don't do as a result. And then what we see in the world, our lives, as is an effect of how we act. So all the things that we do create that result. So I show up like a boss. I'm speaking on stage. I'm standing on stage. That's a fact. I feel really confident, or I am really confident I'm going to kill this speech. So that is going to make me feel really amazing. And then I'm going to show up and I'm going to read from my notes. It's going to be great. And the result that I create is that I'm a boss. I can show up and I can read this speech and it's going to be amazing. I think that another thing that we have to realize is that we have these programmed versus deliberate thoughts. So these are the paradigms that we think this is what they're talking about when they're saying, okay, you have all of these beliefs and all of these thoughts and all of these paradigms that you have in your brain, and you can actually change them. So how do we change them? Well, there's this thing, it's called ladder thoughts. So I can't go from I am going to mess up on this stage to I am a boss. I can't do that. Like my brain just can't I just can't do that. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go from I'm not going to be able to do this speech to I need to practice my speech to I know my speech to I know this so well. I'm going to show up like a boss. And then I'm a boss. I can do this. Right. So we take these little ladder thoughts. We can't change it all at once. I mean, you can, but sometimes our brains just don't work that way. We've got these little neuronal pathways in our brains that just say, nope, sorry, we've got to create a new pathway, a new habit, a new whatever, a new thought. So these program thoughts that we have, we're not usually aware of them. We just think that they're there. They've always existed in our brains. We think it's who we are. It's things we've always been told, things we've been told by our parents, things we've been told by our teachers, by our friends, by those around us, by everybody. And so they're just there. And we're like, well, it's true because that's just what I think. Or I can't change my thought. That thought's always been there. And these thoughts are thoughts that we've had since we were little or for a year or whatever. Now you can actually change these programmed thoughts and you can say, okay, I am in control of my thoughts. I am going to change those thoughts. And all you have to do is make that decision and go through that ladder thought process, because sometimes we can't take that leap, right? So these deliberate thoughts can then become the foundation of our identity. We get to choose these thoughts. We get to put on our thoughts like we're trying on clothes. We're like, oh yeah, I like this thought. Nope, actually, I don't like this thought. And then you get to try on another one. You're like, nope, I don't like that one. And then you take it off and you try on another one. You're like, oh man, this thought, it's a good one. I'm in, right? So you get to choose your thoughts. That is your, that is all in your power. That is the one thing that you can change. You may not change the fact that you have to stand on stage and give a speech. You may not be able to change the fact that you have to go to school. You may not be able to change the fact that you're 15 and you can't do certain things. You can't change those circumstances, but you can change your thoughts about them. So we can't just decide we want a new thought. We have to program those new thoughts into our brain. So we talked a little bit about changing and creating those new neural pathways. And you get to decide what you want to believe or what you don't want to believe about yourself, about others, about the world, about what you can achieve. So the sky's the limit for you if you decide that's where you want to be. So it's very, very cool. I just want to cover one more thing. So our thoughts are our beliefs. So the ones we have versus the ones we want. So we have these thoughts, and you can make a list of all these thoughts that you have. You get to decide what your experiences mean to you. You get to decide if you are your circumstance or if you are going to make choices despite your circumstances. So I have a daughter, and she has special needs, and she just graduated from high school. That's a very big milestone for us. Ever since she was little, people would say, what are you going to do when Savannah graduates? And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I get through this next week, it's going to be a miracle. I don't know what I'm going to do when she's 22 and graduated. Like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And so now we're here. So am I going to take, oh, Savannah's home now all the time. I'm never going to be able to do anything again that I want to do, blah, 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 all the things. Or am I going to say, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to find something for her to do. I'm going to change my thought. Do I get to live despite the circumstance now that she's home, now that she's graduated? And you run the gamut of thoughts, and some are going to be positive and some are going to be negative, and that's okay. That's just the whole part of being human. So we get to choose to believe anything we want. I get to choose that, Savannah being home is the hardest thing that's ever happened to me in my whole life. Or I get to decide this is the coolest blessing. Like, I have a friend 24/7. This is so amazing, right? So I get to decide that. Your illogical beliefs. So these are some negative beliefs. We believe, what we believe defines who we are, and what we say and what we do and how we treat other people, really. If we want to change, we can change. You just have to decide. And if there's a belief that you don't like or that you want to get rid of, find the root cause of why it's there. So we talked about this 3 whys deep a couple of months ago, right? So you can say, okay, why do I have this belief? So why do I think that having Savannah home is hard? Well, because now I have to entertain her all the time and she's very busy. Okay, well, why is she very busy? Why do you have to entertain her all the time? So then I say, okay, well, I have to entertain her all the time because she has special needs, right? So you just kind of go down this path and you find that root cause of your belief. And really, when I got down to it, was I lose a little bit of independence. And that's okay. That's something that I can accept. And so that was, why did I think that this was so hard? And really what it was is that I have a daughter, she's on a mission. She gets to do all of these cool and amazing things that Savannah will never get to do. And so really it came down to like this grief. It was this grief of this belief that there were things that she would never be able to do and really wasn't ever supposed to, if we're being honest, right? But like, I just had to get down to that core belief. Why do I believe the things that I'm believing right now in this moment? And this belief caused a great deal of discomfort, and it's supposed to. When we're trying to change our beliefs or we're trying to get right down into the root cause of it, they are supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. If life were easy, it wouldn't be hard, right? I always tell people, I'm like, just embrace the suck. Like, just embrace that it's hard. And once we can do that, once we can accept that, then we can move on. And it's just much easier once we realize we don't have to be happy all the time. So that is all I have for you all. I mean, I have like hours and stuff more, but that's all the time I'll take for now. But do you guys have any questions about that?
I think that 3 whys deep is awesome. I think it is, if we could use that for, every difficult thing or difficult belief we have, then I think we'd be in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, you guys are awesome. I hope that this week you take the opportunity to just try on different thoughts or different paradigms and find the principles that you want to implement in your life, like your core beliefs, your core, who you are, what you want to do, where you want to be. And then you get to decide. That's the great thing about this, is that you get to decide what your core principles are. You get to decide what your core thoughts are. You get to decide how you're going to act and react in this world. So I challenge you guys all to do that. And I hope that you'll write them down and then come back and share them with us at the end of the month. So anyway, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brittany. And yeah, I think if there's one thing that we could really, I don't know the word. If there's something that we could leave you guys with, it is that you are in control. That you are in control of you may not be in control of your circumstances, like Brittany said, but you are in control of almost everything after that. you can control how you react to those circumstances. You can control how you can make deliberate changes to those negative beliefs and things like that. And it's not necessarily easy, but it's totally worth it. And before we finish, so Scarlett, she's on here. She is like what makes Best Life tick. There she is. Yeah, there she is. And Scarlett has a really awesome opportunity for all of us. And Scarlett, I'll let you just go ahead and go through that. But yeah, thank you for making it. And yeah, you guys can all thank Scarlett for all the work that she does for Best Life.
Hi, everyone. As Brooke said, my name is Scarlett. I'll just do a quick introduction. I'm from Gilbert, Arizona. I just graduated from ASU like 2 weeks ago, and I'm living in Tempe still. But yes, I work for Best Life, so I go down into the Gilbert office a couple times a week. This is my first time joining you guys, obviously, and I think it's amazing what Hannah and Burke are able to put together, as well as Brittany. But I also wanted to, apart from learning, because learning is super important, I also believe that people should just have fun. So I have made a reservation for anyone in the boardroom to go to Topgolf. Has anyone here been to Topgolf before? Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. You're invited to come to Topgolf, and write this down. The date is June 4th at 1 p.m. It's summer break, so I really want to take advantage of this. So you can make the reservation. You can either tell Hannah, Burke, or me that you're coming. But my only request is that you invite someone who's not on this call right now. Because we want to grow the community, right? We want to have other people learn what you're learning, because it's obviously important. Do you guys have any questions? Do you want to just let us know you're coming right now?
Yeah, by raise of hands, I already actually talked to Ross and Libby,
Okay.
and sadly they will be at FSY at a summer camp. Who wants to go to Topgolf? If you want, raise of hands. Jaden, Ross, Libby, Adam. We can reach
Isabel
out. Brittany,
said.
yeah, you're all invited. You guys can all come.
And we're missing a few people tonight too.
What I think we can reach out to you guys individually. I know that you guys have to talk to your parents, make sure that you're not busy that day. But it's free. You don't have to pay anything, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's all I had to add.
Yeah, so just let Hannah and Brooke know. And then for Ross and Libby, we are going to be doing it again during the summer. So it's not a one-time thing. We're going to try to do it multiple times to try to get more and more of our friends to join. So I'll be sure to hop on in a couple of weeks in the next call and let you guys know when the next date is. But for now, the first one is June 4th.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Scarlett. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Hannah?
No, I think that's great. Thanks for showing up tonight, guys.
Perfect. We'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. Jaden, did you have? Oh, yep.
That's a goodbye.
Waving to you too. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.